Here we go. Welcome to Inside the Realtor Studio, interviews with industry leaders and professionals in real estate. The Tucson Association of Realtors turns 100 this year, 1921 to 2021. We honor our history by conducting interviews of the past presidents of the Tucson Association of Realtors. We'll learn a bit of history by talking to the experts themselves. Today's past president is Cheryl Terpening. As the former designated broker and company owner of Arizona Eagle Realty with 25 plus years of real estate experience in Tucson, Cheryl has multifaceted experience in real estate and is now serving as managing broker for Tangible Wealth, a luxury real estate company. Some of Cheryl's many real estate milestones include: in 2000, she was elected president of the Tucson chapter of the Women's Council of Realtors. From 2005 to present, has been serving as an instructor at the Hogan School of Real Estate. Her service to the Tucson Association has included being member of Risk, Forms, and Small Broker Forum. Her service to the Arizona Realtors has been as a member of the Professional Standards Committee, as a mediator and arbitrator and hearing panelist, and as a member of the Arizona Realtors Board of Directors. And in 2019 was elected president of the Multiple Listing Service of Southern Arizona. As a certified mentor and trainer, Cheryl's philosophy has been to always continue to give back to the local community and our real estate community, help agents grow their own businesses, and provide clients the best customer service possible. It's time for us to give back with a big Inside the Realtor Studio welcome to Cheryl Terpening. Hello.
Hi, Steve. Hi, everyone.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Well, I tell people when we're doing this, keep in mind these are going to be up for time memoriam. So 30 or 40 years from now, people will go, "Who was that? And what? Oh my God, that was only 2019, Lord." So let's begin our trip with a bit about real estate before you were president. So when you got your license, where did you first hang your license?
So I first was licensed in 1994,
Okay.
and I started with Long Realty.
Okay.
And they really kind of led my whole foundation. They kind of introduced me into the real estate community. It was all pretty new to me, and it was quite a learning experience. We did a whole bunch of stuff back then, a lot differently than what we did today, but it really laid the foundation. And one of the really big things about that was to get involved in the real estate community. And that's what really put me on the path that I have followed all of these years, was all of the guidance and really my first manager was Doug Bailey. And
so were you at the Tanca Verde office?
I was at the Tanca Verde office.
We must have crossed paths.
Absolutely. There's a lot of really good people that, like you and I, are still around today in business from that office. And I gained a lot of insight. So that was the whole lay the foundation, build up from there. So that's where it brought me to where I am today.
So when you first started, were you working alone, or were you working with a partner or part of a team, or how were you doing it?
I was working alone, and then I was fortunate enough, and I say very fortunate, that I was working with Madeline Freeman as one of her buyer's agents back then. Yep. Yeah. And that, Madeline taught me a ton of information, which I still keep today and pay attention to, and really how to be very gracious about this business. This is a tough business, but we've got to not only have fun, but we have to enjoy each other. So
yeah. True. So beginning, you were started 25 years ago. What was the technology of the day?
Oh my goodness. I remember, that's so funny. I remember I saved up, it took me 4 commissions to buy my first cell phone.
Wow.
But I saved, other than taxes and such, but I saved up and I bought, and I had the brick, and I still have the brick.
And the bricks worked well.
They did.
Yeah.
They were indestructible, and I got to pick my phone number.
Oh, neat. Neat.
And the cool thing about that was that my phone number, 520-907-2437, actually spells CHER.
Ah,
So I picked that way back then, and I still have it today. It's
wow.
kind of like one of those things that stays with you throughout the industry, and it's really
Yeah.
cool.
So now and you work as a buyer's agent for Madeline and that. I know how busy that office is because we were friends with Lisa Suarez and everybody else in there. So, and Madeline is still there as we speak. So still kicking and taking no prisoners. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. Well, let's shift over to your presidency. And, we began this series by doing the board presidents for the association, and we've branched out since then. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the multiple listing service board, because for those who may not be familiar or are only familiar with the association board or even the foundation board, how is the multiple listing board different? In other words, like how many meetings a year do you have? What's the size of the board? That sort of thing.
Right. And just an FYI, I was on the TAR board before I went on to the MLS board.
Oh, okay.
So I was a board of director on the TAR board for a good number of years also.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest difference in my time, we went through the transition. When I joined as a realtor, we had the Tucson Association and MLS. It was one. It
Right.
was not separated. And so as we walked down that path, I remember when I joined in 1994, one of the things was that they kept talking about, they being all of the really high experienced agents, that someday we would have our own MLS and someday this would look totally different. And we made it. I have to say that I was able to see that transition. And it wasn't an easy transition by
No.
any way, shape, or form. But I do remember all of the good things that we had to go through to get to this point. And one of them was to grow.
Yeah.
And boy, did we grow.
I've interviewed some of the presidents who were around at that time and going through the process. And my great regret is that Mike Whaling is not here, because he would have been invaluable to interview about that, because he was a part and parcel of some of that back in the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
I think the biggest thing that's different between the two boards is that we are a regional MLS, which we started off that way, which a lot of MLSs that are associated with the associations are just unique to that one association. We jumped big time, and we jumped into having multiple associations to create our MLS, which was a huge step. It was a huge leap of faith, but we did it, and it's been successful.
yeah.
Which I think that's the biggest difference, is that when we look at who do we want to provide services to, participants, subscribers, we are a regional with a large geographical area, which is very unique and very cool, I think.
It is. And when you talk with other parts of the country and you find out the overlap of other multiple listing services on top of one another, and it can make for the agents in particular, well, and for the business owners, it's terrifically difficult, because who do you join and who do you not join? And yeah, so we haven't had that experience here so far, so we're happy to see that. Yeah. So the board would meet, do they meet monthly, or how are they doing that?
So we do meet monthly, and we do have the executive committee meets before the board. And so we do have a minimum of 2 meetings, and then we do have just 2 committees through MLS, which is a completely different structure from the association. We don't really need a lot of committees. We just need, the committees to investigate different things that are out there, what's new and exciting, what works, what doesn't work, what do members, our participants and our our subscribers really need for tools
Mhm.
in their daily business, and just to make sure that we have a real good foundation of competitiveness of what's going on across the country.
Yeah.
And that is always from, going to the conventions and the separate one for specific for MLS, which really kind of gave us a lot of insight of where do we need to be moving as an MLS with our data. How do we safeguard the data? How do we not have
Exactly.
somebody else take it? Because to me, that's really, really important. But then also, what tools does that agent not need out in the field? What can make their life easier?
And so you answered one of my next questions, which was about the committees and task force. What do they deal with in particular?
Well, like one of the things that I was able to accomplish, which I'm really proud of, was I brought in the market stats. So the
Yeah.
market stats program was my year. Yay. And also to really kind of get education out there, we've had for a number of years the ability on our mobile app, and I don't think that it was utilized enough. So part of my year was I want to bring in market stats because I want to have that instant data, if you will, to be able to send it out to a client, to be able to have that data in my hand on my phone, but then also the mobile app to utilize all of the different tools. During my year, we were able to formulate that committee, have them really do a deep dive into the technology that was out there and what's the best path that we could go for the size of our MLS. Because we are a mid-tier MLS, which nationwide, that's pretty impressive.
Mm.
We fit into that category of over 1,500 members,
Okay.
but under 10,000. So that's where the majority of the MLSs in the country fall. And we're right there. We are,
Good. It's a good thing they're measuring by the number of members and not the number of listings right now.
oh man, let's not go there.
I just looked the other day and I went, "Oh, you're kidding me! Oh God!" Uh, you know,
Yeah.
uh, and that's part of the thing. When I'm out there talking to people and they go, the layperson who talks about the market, as I said, you have to realize we have 6,200 members, and that. And when they started, or many of them started, there were 3,500 listings or better, and now we're down to 1,000 listings, and we still have 6,200 members. So this is not good times for all by any means.
Yeah.
So
It's tough out there.
that's 2021 for you. Let's talk about leadership in that. You said that you kind of got led down the path through Long and that into leadership. Was there any one person who was kind of your mentor or helped you along in that regards, or said you
Well,
should be part of this?
you over the years, I mentioned Doug Bailey. He was my first manager, and I know it was stressful for him. It was stressful for me. It was stressful for a lot of people back then, and different stress than what we have now, but it was still, learning the business. And then JT, everybody knows JT. He has been a huge stable rock for me through the years. And I would say Sue Carton also. Sue Carton has been a big influence. I remember taking GRI courses from her, and I always said, wow, I need to watch this woman because she's going places. And yeah, she's gone places. It's really been fun.
Was there anyone that drew you through to professional standards at the Arizona Realtors level, or?
I'm trying to think what I don't remember who said, hey, you need to come and check this out. I just always was really, to me, the code of ethics is like, this is cool. I now have guidelines and they're easy. This is the code. This is what you operate by. And it's a beautiful code and it's pretty simple. I know it's hard to stay within those guidelines, but at the end of the day, this is what it is. And to me, the code makes it legitimate. The code makes us, as realtors, as licensees, legitimate. We stand for something, and that's the code.
Yeah. Well, we've been lucky enough to serve as panelists together on a couple of occasions. I'm sure that
Yes,
will happen again
yes.
in that. We talked about bringing in the market stats and that. Did you have any big challenges the year you were president? Anything that maybe outside forces that were, trying to sneak in on our data or anything like that?
Well, we always have those guys that want to come in and steal our data. And so it was an ongoing battle. And I think that one of the biggest eye openers that I had was when I was on the executive committee for MLS, and I was exposed to the CMLS, which is the Council of Multiple Listing Service.
Mhm.
And I had never heard of that before. And I really think that more people need to know about that. More licensees, more realtor members need to know about that, because that organization, they're not connected to National Association of Realtors, but they provide data throughout the country. And I learned a lot by going to those conferences and talking with my counterparts all over the country, and how to do things and how to get more tools that, as a board member, even though I served on the board before I became on the executive committee and worked my way up to the presidency, I just didn't know. So that was really a good stepping stone to connect the dots, to bring some of those things into our MLS and say, hey, we don't have to be excluded down here. We can be inclusive. And, I still talk about it. One of the things that I was hoping to achieve in my year was to continue to regionalize. And I had really high hopes that we would go into New Mexico, Texas, Mexico, Rocky Point as an MLS, because they could use our services. They could utilize our expertise and our staff, and they could increase their level of education and service to their members based on what we're already doing. They wouldn't have to rewrite the playbook. We've already got it up and running. So, and I learned all of that at CMLS, which I think is fabulous.
Which we actually had hosted here in Tucson one time, didn't we? And not that many years ago,
It's
maybe 17.
No, it was further back than that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think it was about 10 years ago.
So in terms of that and looking at further regionalization and that, so there's definitely some places out there who could use our services, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. I mean, we have close to 6,400 members. That, like I said, it's under 10,000, but we're in that mid tier across the country, which we are a pretty large MLS. And
Mhm.
we have the power, the ability to go out and expand. And I think that we need to continue to look at expanding in order to stay viable.
Well, because in the meantime, there are other MLSs in the state who have been expanding and are flanking us on a couple of sides in that. And any thoughts about that?
Yeah, that was going on when I was the president, and we did have some conversations with some surrounding communities and other associations. And I think that we have to stay viable in southern Arizona
Mhm.
and outside Arizona possibly, in order to continue doing business as we know it. Let's just
Yeah.
put it that way. Because do they have a good business model? Absolutely. Do we have a good business model? Absolutely. And I like to be able to have choices, that we're not just here's all you get. I like to be able to have more choices.
So the good news for you is that you were president in 2019, and there was no lockdown. So you got to enjoy travel that year.
I did. And
Yeah.
that was fabulous because like I said, I was able to go and be part of all of the conventions and partake and sit down with a cup of coffee at a convention with another one of my counterparts and really get to know people, because that networking that's what conventions are about. And that's where you learn those little things that maybe you didn't hear in that seminar, but somebody else one-on-one, just like what we're doing, you know,
Mhm.
yes, this is what we do today, but that cup of coffee at a convention site to where you can actually get into the nitty gritty of what they're doing versus what we're doing. I got so much out of that. That was invaluable to me.
Yeah. Well, we're at that point, believe it or not. We want to know if you have any other thoughts about your time while you were president.
No, it was a quick year. I mean, everybody, says how fast their year goes, but it really was a quick year when you think about it. And because our board is different, and because one of the strong parts of our board, I feel, is that these are brokers, managing brokers, and we look at things differently than just, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but from an agent's point of view.
Sure.
Agents have wants and needs and desires. But company owners, company managers are looking at maybe a 20,000 feet high view down, and then how do we zero down into that?
Yeah.
So our board has always been made up of those industry leaders in our local community. And I feel that, there's a lot of good interaction and communication with everybody on our board, which I think is really unique. But I think it is because we have grown from an association and then expanded to regionally, because a lot of the companies do go to other regional areas in the southern Arizona, but we don't limit it there. I,
Yeah.
I really feel that our board has always been open to anybody that wants to come in, and we hold ourselves open. So,
Yeah. Well, what I do towards the end of our interview is I'm going to hit you with 7 quick questions. I'm hoping for 7 quick answers.
okay,
So, what's your favorite word?
fantastic.
Hmm. And what's your least favorite word?
Problem.
And what turns you on?
Being with my family.
And what turns you off?
Negative people.
Mhm. And what profession other than real estate would you have liked to have attempted?
Boy, I don't know. I was
Opera singer?
Well, I'll tell you what, one of my dreams before I ever got into real estate, and I think back on this, and I think that, and this isn't a quick answer, but I would have loved to have been a Harley Davidson test rider,
There you go.
because I've had a Harley for over 30 years now, and that was one of the things that I always thought, you know what, I would love to have somebody give me a motorcycle and say, go break it.
Boy, if that's a paid position, that'd be a highly sought after one, wouldn't it?
Yes, and they have those test riders, and I always wanted to be one.
Oh, wow. So, and what profession are you super glad you didn't attempt?
A factory worker.
Oh, okay.
I did that for like a day.
Whereabouts?
That was when I was growing up in Ohio, and they actually hired me at a
Sure.
factory. And I learned at a really young age, no, I can't do this.
Yeah. Hello, I'm from Flint, Michigan. So there we go.
There you go.
Yeah. So in closing, if you could do a shout out to anyone living or not in the real estate community, who would it be and why?
Oh boy. there's,
And you can have more than one.
okay, good, because I was like, there's more than one. Like I said, Sue Carton, JT,
Mhm.
Doug Bailey, Madeline, those are all people that I've admired over my career, and I really do feel that they've helped me along the way. Another person who really helped me in my career was Judy Lowe.
Okay.
And she really took me under her wing and said, hey, you need to check this out. And she really helped me achieve a lot of the accomplishments that I have today.
Well, excellent choices all, Cheryl. Any last thoughts before we sign off?
No, other than I want to thank you, Steve, for your time for doing this, because I think that this is just a wonderful way to put this all into that time capsule, like you
Yeah,
said, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And I think that this is fabulous. And I'm just so excited to be part of it. So thank you for your time. And I'm so glad to be part of this organization in Southern Arizona, Multiple Listing Service and Tucson Association of Realtors.
great. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Thank you, Steve.